Hi, it's
Hey.
Emily and Michael here for Teen Thursdays here at the library. Today our project is going to be easy do-it-yourself screen printing
Without the screen.
without the screen. We have our materials over here and we're going to show you what you need to complete this project. First things first, what you'll need is something to screen print. It can be a bag, it could be a t-shirt, it could be a pillowcase, whatever you'd like. It can be any type of fabric. We suggest repurposing a t-shirt or a bag if you don't have a blank one laying around. We're gonna be using this canvas bag here today. You'll also want something to put in between if you have an object that has multiple layers, so like my bag or a t-shirt. We're just using simple cardstock, but we are going to slip it in between so our ink doesn't bleed through to the other side. You'll also want some freezer paper for your design. Make sure it's freezer paper and not wax paper. Freezer paper can be found over by the aluminum foil or the saran wrap at the grocery store. It comes in big rolls, so you can do mini projects if you'd like. You'll need some screen printing ink. This is very specific paint. It's not acrylic, it's not oil. We found this at Walmart for about $7. Make sure that it says screen printing ink when you purchase them. There's a bunch of different colors, so you can mix and match or you can do your design all in one. We suggest purchasing one of these small spongy brushes instead of a paintbrush. It makes it easier to take the paint and dab it onto the project versus brushing. You'll also need an iron to adhere your freezer paper design onto your fabric. If you're not comfortable using an iron on your own, make sure you ask an adult for some help. And then last but not least, don't forget to cover up your area and your workstation so that you don't create a mess somewhere in the house. All right, so whenever you have your fabric, t-shirt, bag, whatever you'd like to screen print, make sure that when you're using your iron, again, if you're not comfortable using your iron, make sure you ask an adult for help. Go ahead and give your item a quick iron over, make sure the lines are all flat. You can use a paper cutter. Michael and I pre-cut our designs, or you can just take a piece of your freezer paper, any size that you'd like to match whatever size your fabric is, and you can create your own design by simply drawing and then cutting out your paper before ironing it on. So for my image, I have the outside frame, and then I am going to very gently place my inside images and give them a nice iron. Very gently, making sure to continue to move my iron over my design. And slowly fill in my pieces one at a time. All right, as we talked about before, after we have our design, we want to make sure there's something in between the two pieces of fabric so that when we're putting paint on our design, it doesn't bleed through to the other side. So I'm just taking, again, just a piece of extra cardstock we had here, and I'm going to slip it in between, and I'm going to center it underneath my design. All right, I have my blue paint that I'm going to use. Like I said, with your screen printing ink paint, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just gonna start by dabbing my brush, and I'm gonna start on one area of my design and dab in my ink. I wanna make sure that my design gets really well covered. The first time I did this project, I could definitely see some holes where my ink had missed. So I wanna make sure I get a really good coating on my design.
Okay, so we let our design dry overnight, and now we're going to go ahead and peel off the freezer paper, and we'll see how our design looks. And going slow so I don't rip the paper and have any little bits that I have to try to pull off later. There we go.
Okay, so now that we've peeled up our design and we have our paint all set and dry, we're going to take a piece of parchment paper. This is one of the methods we can use to seal in our paint. I'm going to place it over my design. I'm going to take my iron, which is set to the cotton setting. Again, if you're not comfortable using the iron, ask a parent for help. And I am just going to very easily press on my design, making sure to keep the iron moving. Just gonna try and get an even coat over the top of my design. We said about 3 or 4 minutes. About 3 or 4 minutes, just even pressure, keeping the iron constantly moving over your design. If your design is not completely dry, if you didn't let it dry overnight or long enough, the paint is going to stick to your parchment paper, and if that happens, pull everything up and let your design dry a little bit longer.
Alternatively, you can set your ink with a hairdryer. Keep the hairdryer about an inch away from your design and heat it for 3 to 4 minutes evenly.
Okay, so now you have your finished product. All that's left to do is to give it a wash. We are recommending that you wash it by itself, not with anything else, just in case the ink bleeds, and with cold water. Then you can put it in your dryer, probably on a low setting and a very gentle tumble, and you should have a very cool project to show off. We'll see you next Thursday.
Bye.